In Tableau Online and Tableau Server, it's possible to centrally manage data sources to ensure consistency in definitions, accuracy, auditability, minimization of data replication, minimization of compute resources, and various other aspects of a centrally managed data governance strategy, while also devolving analytics and content creation to end users. So one way to manage this type of strategy is by having a separation between your data source management and your content management. In this case, we're managing data sources at a corporate level. However, you could also set up your data sources by department or by team. And we're doing this at a project level, whereby in this case, since it's a corporate-wide project, all users are granted the ability to see this project. And then within that, they're granted the ability to see data sources and connect to data sources while being denied the ability to actually modify those data sources. The fact that the permissions are locked to the project ensure that only project leaders have the ability to modify any data sources. And this is to ensure the integrity of the data sources that are being used in the corporate data assets project. Now we want to allow end users to do their own ad hoc analysis on top of those data sources without necessarily requiring them to share their work broadly. And so much in the same way as your documents folder on your desktop allows you to save documents for personal reference, a personal sandbox is a way to manage that concept on the Tableau server. So in this case, the permissions on the personal sandbox make every single user a publisher to that project. So they can simultaneously view the personal sandbox project while saving to the personal sandbox project as well. You may want to only enable this for users who have an Explorer or a Creator license, as there is no purpose for users who can only view other content that was created by other people. Now, the critical point here to ensure that users only see their own content is by denying all permissions at a workbook level and denying all permissions at a data source level as well. The reason why this works is because content owners are the ultimate administrator of their own content. So even if they are denied permissions to all workbooks within a project, their own permissions as content owners overrides the deny permission, granting them access to the content that they have saved. Now, a critical piece for this to work is to ensure that the permissions are locked to the project, and that means that publishers cannot override these permissions and guarantees that they will only ever be able to see their own content. It's only a project leader or a site admin who can modify these permissions. Okay, so let's see in action, how does this work? I'm going to sign out as the administrator, and I'm going to log in as a business user. So let's log in as business user 1. And note that they have access here to both the data sources as well as the personal sandbox. And their starting point is no workbooks, but they do have a data source. So they can go ahead and create a new workbook on top of that, whereby they have the freedom and flexibility to choose how to view the data, while also having the assurance from IT that this data source is properly joined together, the calculations are accurate, and so on. So now they want to go ahead and save this for later reference. We'll note that they don't have the ability to save to the corporate data sources project because that permission is denied, but they can save to the personal sandbox project. And so here this is going to be saved as sales by product. And the next point is to see how does this impact what other users on the server can see. So note that if we go to our Workbooks tab now, this user has access to that content that they have created. If we sign out and then sign in as a different business user, so let's sign in as business user 2 in this case here. Note that while this user has access to exactly the same projects, they don't have access to that workbook that was just published by business user 1 by virtue of the fact that they are denied all permissions on the workbook level to workbooks published within the Personal Sandbox project. However, since they do have access to the data source, they can go and create their own ad hoc analysis on this as well. And perhaps they want to view something slightly different, maybe profit by customer segment. And so now, having created that analysis, this user may wish to save their own content for later use as well. So they can go and save this into their own personal sandbox. And let's call this segments analysis. And now, for the same reasons that business user 2 was not able to see the content that was published by business user 1, the reverse is also true. And so this person is also only seeing their own content. Now, where this gets really interesting is when you look at this from the point of view of the administrator. So if we now go sign in as that administrator, note that they now have access to 2 workbooks, which are inside the personal sandbox. And that is because they are the administrator of this site. Administrators of this project would also have access to see the content that's published within the personal sandbox. So that provides a degree of audit that you don't get when every user is doing their own personal analysis on a desktop. And it also allows to see when common types of analysis are repeatedly done across users, that can help decide what should be fed back into centrally managed corporate reports. So that concludes this video. If you have any questions, please reach out to Ann Ho at thank you.